So, Bruce, let's talk first off about Batman Year One.
Sure.
It's finally here.
Yeah, next week.
And how long was the process on that?
Well, we'd been ever since we started doing these direct-to-video movies. Batman Year One is a property that I've been kind of pushing to do since day one.
Right.
And I got a lot of pushback from people saying, "Well, Batman Begins kind of covered a lot of that same territory." And the more I thought about it, it's like, well, they kind of did and they kind of didn't. There was, Batman Begins is not a literal adaptation of it,
right.
And a lot of that has to do with the tone. And one of the things that really most impressed me about Batman Year One when it first came out, like in 1986, was that it didn't seem like a superhero comic. It seemed almost like a crime comic, because it's really more about Jim Gordon than it is about Batman. Right. So that was the thing that I was really impressed by back in the day. And it didn't have any supervillains in it. It didn't have any Bat gadgets, or the Bat gadgets are just really super low tech. So I thought that was a really interesting take on the character, and that was stuff that they didn't do in Batman Begins. Batman Begins, being a big summer tentpole movie, had to have big splashy action sequences and a big fancy villain, and big the world at jeopardy and all that stuff. And Batman Year One is not about that. It's much more intimate. It's a much smaller scale story. So that was the thing I kept pushing for. So when we eventually decided to go forward with it, went back at that point and reread the comics. I hadn't read it in a while, and I was like, God, I hope it still holds up, because sometimes things don't. And I went back and read it, and if anything, it's better than I remembered. I mean,
right.
It's like Frank's dialogue is spot on throughout the whole thing, and Mazzucchelli's storytelling is so perfect and so cinematic. So when I went back and reread the comic, I thought, yeah, this is going to translate into a film like piece of cake.
And this is a very literal adaptation, maybe more so than any other DC animated movie that's been done so far.
Yeah, I mean, because always, usually when we're adapting things like All-Star Superman or New Frontier, they're pretty big, and we have to jettison a lot of story material to just get it down to the running time.
Right.
We actually had the opposite problem with Batman Year One. We did a very faithful adaptation of the script, and did the storyboard, turned it into an animatic, and timed it, and we came up 10 minutes short. And we pretty much left. I mean, there was only one scene in the comic that we didn't put in the first draft, and it was the scene where Commissioner Gordon suspects that Harvey Dent might be Batman and goes to interview him.
Right.
So we did actually quickly scripted that scene and recorded it, put that in the movie, and it's still a little bit short. So I was really adamant that I did not want to add new story elements that weren't in the comic, because frankly, I'm not Frank Miller or David Mazzucchelli in 1986. It's like I wanted it to just be that. So fortunately, at that point, we said, well, how do we make up that 10-minute running time? We actually happened to have, sitting on the shelf, a Catwoman short script written by Paul Dini, just ready to go. And Catwoman's in Batman Year One, and I went, oh, this could be Catwoman Year Two. This could be kind of similar to Batman Year One, but not a direct sequel. We brought Eliza Dushku back in to do the voice, and kind of kept the art style the same, and away we went.